Welcome back to the Power of Conversation podcast. This is episode number 4. It is currently 2:33 in the morning here on January 7th, 2021. I'm not going to lie, I had a podcast originally planned today, a whole episode already thought out. I had a behind the video that I was going to cover. And I was also going to cover the very unique opportunity that I've had within the last couple of days, shooting content for the platform known as Overtime, specifically shooting content for Shaquille O'Neal, son of Shaq, NBA star Shaq, legend Shaq. But due to the events that have transpired within the last 24 hours, I want to use this time to talk about something that's far more important than a basketball game. Trump supporters, far-right activists, white supremacists, domestic terrorists charged into Capitol Hill yesterday in the middle of the peaceful transition of power and the confirmation of the Electoral College, to where President-elect Joe Biden will officially be inaugurated as President of the United States on January 20th. But this was interrupted, of course, by these domestic terrorists who charged into the Capitol with their MAGA flags, their MAGA hats, even Confederate flags. And I want to make this clear before I go any further. This is not a political podcast. This is very far from it. But I can't just ignore this. I can't sit back and ignore that these domestic terrorists were able to charge into this government building with little repercussion. Y'all, they were able to charge into this building with a very light police force and very light resistance. And it makes you scratch your head as to how the hell that even happened. But politics aside, you can have your opinion about Donald Trump. You can have your opinion about Joe Biden. You can have your opinion about whatever politically. It's not really the issue here. Well, it is, but it isn't. But what if it were Hispanic people that were trying to charge into the Capitol? I'm sorry, I'm stuttering over my words because I'm actually having a very hard time talking about this because this genuinely angers me. It really does. What if it were Muslim people that charged into the Capitol yesterday? What if it were black people that charged into the Capitol yesterday? See, this country has a huge problem on its hands. And this country has a double standard that is unlike anything I say the world's ever seen. And it's led by this president, quotation marks, President Donald Trump. And I'm not just saying that baselessly. I actually have an article. I want to read some things off that I just found that were interesting, particularly covering some tweets from President Trump because we know that he loves Twitter and all. So today, after these events transpired, he released a video specifically stating in a quote by him, "I know your pain. I know your hurt. We love you." And he called this mob that infiltrated the Capitol great patriots who have been badly and unfairly treated for so long. End quote. But let's go back to May. Let's go back to June during the Black Lives Matter protests when George Floyd was murdered in the streets of Minneapolis when there was a huge uproar in the country covered by national media. And there still is a huge uproar even today. But when it was caught as the only thing we were actually talking about, President Trump used the words thugs, anarchists, and domestic acts of terror when describing these protests. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. But you know what? It actually does. Because if these were Hispanic people trying to charge into the Capitol, if these were Muslim people trying to charge into the Capitol, if these were black people trying to charge into the Capitol, you know what would have happened? They would have gotten shot. There would have been multiple deaths. There would have been all hell would have broken loose. And I'm not one to speculate as to what actually would happen further, but there would be nothing but utter and pure chaos, more than that we have seen right now. I mean, this is already utter and pure chaos, but it would be to a whole new level. But these people were not shot at for entering this government building. They were not pepper sprayed. No tear gas, no rubber bullets. No, they were just allowed to walk right into the Capitol. I even saw something to where one of the people marching in was taking a selfie with the police officer, which that is also another whole thing of its own, right? That the police officers and those that were controlling and that were patrolling the area for Black Lives Matter protests were extremely violent to the protesters that were protesting for Black Lives Matter. But when this act of domestic terrorism occurred today, they were taking selfies with the participants. It just makes no sense, except unfortunately it does. And that's the problem right now. And it's being encouraged by President Trump. He even said when the Black Lives Matter protests were going on, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. So President Trump, the looting happened in the Capitol. Does the shooting start there with your people, your followers? No? Does it not do that? It makes no sense. It makes no sense, but it does. And it's terrible. It makes me ashamed to be a citizen of the United States, where I know my fellow brother who is black is not treated the same as me because I'm white. There's a huge, huge problem here. And the worst part of all of this is that people are actually defending President Trump and these domestic terrorists here. That if the liberals lost the election, that much worse things would happen. There would be much worse anarchy. And statements like that are baseless in itself, because that's not what it's about. It's about the double standard here in America. There is a double standard problem that pro-Trump supporters, domestic terrorists, can march in to a Capitol building, a government building, and they don't get shot at, nothing happens. They don't even get tear gas. They're taking selfies with these police officers because they are trying to fight for the cause that Trump won the election. He won the re-election and the right to return to the office of the President of the United States, whereas Black Lives Matter protesters are fighting for the rights of black lives, that black lives, the actual lives of black people, matter, that their life matters in the world. Yet they're shot in the streets, rubber bullets, even worse, casualties and fatalities. And that's my problem. back in June, I actually released an Instagram video going a little bit further into this, talking about systematic oppression of black people in the United States. And I will put this video that I released on Instagram at the end of this podcast when I'm done talking and rambling, because I know not a lot of people are going to want to go to my Instagram and actually see it. But the premise of it was to tell people to wake up, that there is a real problem here in the United States with racism and systematic oppression, and now the double standard. And it's sickening. It really, really is. And I hope with the coming days, with a new president, and now with John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock now in Senate, I really, really hope that there is some change. Like I said, I'm not really a political person. I couldn't really tell you what's going to happen. Nobody really can. But if you don't really see a problem as to what happened today, wake up. Seriously, wake the hell up, because there is a double standard problem here in America. And quite frankly, I'm sick and tired of it. I really, really am. If you don't realize there is a problem with systematic oppression here in the United States, wake the hell up. Seriously, wake up. Because it's not only that, it's also racism. Racism is still real. Wake up and realize that. By the way, do you know how racism is perceived here in the United States? See, racism isn't a natural behavior. It is a learned behavior. It is taught. It is a taught behavior upon someone who does not know racism. So, you cannot be born as a racist. You can only learn to be racist. And that is the problem with America right now. This is still happening for no damn good reason. If you think racism in this country isn't still prevalent, wake up. If you're more worried about how protesters are protesting rather than why they are doing it, wake up. Be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. If you want to be a part of the solution, then teach your kids not to be racist. Rather, teach them love, respect, and compassion for one another. Because that's the only way we're going to get out of this. That is the only way racism ends, if we teach everybody to love for who they are. I am tired of having to see this day in and day out, and I damn well don't want to ever see this again. Not just for my sake, for all my black brothers and sisters that are out there having to worry if they are going to live, if they are going to be pulled over, rather than me as a white man just worrying about if I'm going to get a speeding ticket. This is a problem. Do not be a part of this problem. Be a part of the solution.